Alright, this video is going to walk you through getting the Cura software set up so you can use the 3D printer. So the first thing you need to do is you need to open up the software. So you're going to go to the Start menu, scroll down, find the Cura LUZBot 2.6 software. If you haven't installed this yet, then we just got to get the ZenWorks going. It's a very easy install to get that running. Now once it runs up, you'll see this cool little octopus thing, and then you get this pop-up menu asking you what printer you want to use. So we have a LUZBot Mini. Then you come down here to your Add Printer, and then it's going to talk about some machine settings, and you can just click Finish here. That's not something you have to worry about. From here then we get our main menu looking at the Cura software. And on the right side we have the print setup compared to the print monitor. So the print monitor has a lot of features that are really nice if you are connected to a printer. But we're going to be using software called Octoprint to manage this stuff. But this is where you get the dealing with the temperatures and different things like that, working with the axes for the extruder, and we'll see how those things work together in the Octoprint software in a different video. Other things here, your options change based upon your level. So if you're a beginner, as you choose that, it's going to limit what kind of materials you're using because they're trying to pick the best ones. For the most part, you just need to stick with all and always go to the material called HIPS, HIPS. That is the kind of plastic filament that we have. From here, your profile, you're looking at basically the width that you want your filament to kind of go and the speed. So you can go high speed. Standard is usually going to be good enough. Sometimes you might want to go high detail. It's going to slow it down, extrude a little bit slower, but standard is going to fit the bill most of the time. Next we got how much gets infilled. Right? So you can have a hollow, that would be 0%, 20% is a good amount in there. 50, sometimes you might need something like that. 100, not really. Right? And gradual is something, these are things you might use if you get into more advanced 3D printing. But for our purposes, with in IED, 20% is going to serve us just fine. If you're watching this video for CAD, we might have to play around with some of these other features with other things. Checking this box is going to create supports. If your model has overhanging edges or stuff like that, that might need to be supported. But that's something we'll talk about as you build your model. And then plate adhesion is basically what it says, just helping the filament stick to the bed of the printer. Right? So checking that or not checking that is right. Keeping in check is not a bad thing. Right? Okay, moving on. To insert a file, we're going to go to Open File here, and let me load something up real quick. Alright, so continuing on, I went to the Open button, and now I'm looking at my File Explorer. So I have this STL file, so I can open that up and work with that, and this is something that we're going to be able to use. Now, when you load it up, you're going to notice that it's going to possibly take on different sizes. So I didn't really edit any of the sizes within the Inventor software before I made this video, so that's something I'll have to do to make sure I have the correct sizing. But that's, maybe you watched that video first, maybe you haven't. But that's going to be a video that is available that you can watch to see that. But right now we see the size of it right there. But just for this video, we can talk about the features. So we have the move feature. You click here, and now you're able to move your model around the print bed. If you get off the print bed, you're going to see this, and basically it says you can't print it then. All right. Here we have our scale, so it's going to see the size. It's always in millimeters. There might be a way to change that, but we're not going to deal with that in this video. We're going to deal with millimeters. The bed is, each of these little squares down here is a centimeter, so that's a good way to gauge it. And right now you can see it's at, this model's at 10,000%, which I don't know why it would be at that, but I could shrink it down to different sizes to get my correct sizing. So I'd have to play around with that, but that allows me to change my sizing if I needed to do that. Most likely I shouldn't have to on a regular basis because it's going to be the right size anyway when we get it started. Right? But that's what the scale does. Rotate allows you to change the orientation of your model. And this you might need to do this, like if you wanted to flip it around to print it this way because you think that's going to be a more stable print, or if you need to rotate it to try and use the angle of the bed like that, you can do different things like that. There's a couple other functions here that allow you to go back and change how things are working. All right. The mirror feature allows you to basically it changes the edges, which it's really hard to see on this because our edges are, there's nothing really to flip. Oh, there's one you can see. So we're basically just flipping the edges. It's kind of a shortcut to working with some of the rotation if you don't want to be that precise. This button I have not had to use yet, and that's why it's like that. But we'll get that mystery solved eventually. Multiple objects, so if I wanted to copy this object, let's say I wanted to make 2 bushings, I can just change it to 2 and it'll add 2 more like that. So this would allow us to make multiple bushings without having to load additional files in at the same time. And then our view here allows us just to see the different ways to kind of look at it, and what's on the inside. You can look at your layers. There's some cool things you can do where you can kind of bring it down. You can see how it's going to be built. If you look real close, you can see the 20%. You can see that crisscross pattern in there. So if I were to change it to 50, it's going to rethink that up, reslicing it. Now you can see the difference there. Much more full, but that's going to make a print longer and use a lot more filament to do that. Right? So we have all those things. All right, so those are the basics of what you're doing when it comes to it. If you end up kind of leaving your different views, yeah, I got lost in my thoughts there. All right, let's just move on to the next step. When you are ready to move it over to the 3D printer, you've done all your adjustments, you're ready to go. What you're going to do is you're going to go to File, Save As, and then you can change the name to whatever you need it to be, but you need to save it as a G-code file. And once you save that as a G-code file, now you're going to be able to upload it to our Octoprint server and actually print it on our machines. Okay. All right, so that's a basic walkthrough. Feel free to ask questions about this, but you have this as a resource to kind of navigate around and the basic understanding of this software. All right, until next time.